Dr. Shulkin, first let me begin by just saying that I appreciated the opportunity to visit with you in my office the other day. I shared with you then that I appreciated the way that you came into the VA. You're one of the guys that came in when, even in the campaigns, they weren't talking about Washington as a swamp yet. They were talking about the fact that, and on several occasions with Mr. McDonald, Secretary McDonald, we talked about the fact that you two guys came in knowing that you were in the middle of something that you had to fix. It was at a time in which you had $1 billion overcost or an overrun on one single hospital in Colorado. You guys came in, and you came in with the intent of fixing and making things better for veterans, and I appreciate that. At the same time, I want to just touch on a couple of issues that you and I have talked about in the past, but I want to get into it a little bit more today, as we said we would during that meeting in my office. First of all, the Black Hills VA system in Hot Springs, South Dakota, where, as you know, there's a host of individuals there that have, for literally since that town was created, they have serviced veterans and in treatment facilities. They've also made it very clear that they want to continue that. As a matter of fact, they're one of your 5-star facilities in the United States. Secretary McDonald had suggested some significant changes there. In our meeting the other day, you indicated a willingness to take a look and to find something that will work for the community of Hot Springs in their desire to serve veterans. Would you expand on that a little bit? And once again, just commit that you will take a second look at it and see what we can do to make this work for the veterans, to make it better for them in that whole area. It's not just South Dakota, it's Wyoming, it's Colorado, it's Nebraska as well.
Yep. I think it was the afternoon after we met. I already had a chance to get on the phone with the VISN director and the facilities director out in that area. And I had them go through their rationale about how they got to their decision making. And I had some additional questions, much like you, and I appreciate you bringing those to my attention. So we are going to relook at this. There were actually a couple options on the table, all that I can understand how they got to where they got to, but I think that there are some additional questions. So I have begun the process of looking at that, and we'll get back to you and discuss with you about what some of those options are. And I actually want to get your thoughts on how we can serve the veterans in that area best.
Very good. And I think the veterans in that area, and most certainly the community of Hot Springs, that, as I say, that community came into existence really to serve veterans. And they're one of the oldest in the United States. So I appreciate that and your interest in working with us. The second item is one that I think is probably a little less comfortable in discussing, and that is the Emergency Care Fairness Act that was passed by this Congress in 2009, signed by the President in 2010. And what this was, for the benefit of folks out there that may not understand it, this basically said that if a veteran ends up going to an emergency room, even if they wanted to go to a VA center, if the emergency care was delivered at a non-VA facility, the VA would pick up the costs of that emergency room treatment. Shortly after that occurred, rules were revised within the VA that did exactly the opposite and indicated that they would act as a secondary payer only. And even with veterans who have Medicare, any deductibles or co-pays, the VA has said, sorry, that's a secondary payment and we're not responsible for it. And they have not made any of those payments. In fact, I think the total costs on that are into the billions of dollars now that are on the backs of veterans. Now, Congress's intent was pretty clear, and in fact, not only has there been one court case on it, which went in favor of the veterans, there has now been an appeals case which has been, which ruled that the VA is wrong. And in fact, let me just quote this to you, and this is the way that it comes up in this, and this is in the case of Staub versus McDonald, and it says, and the VA needs to find a way to pay for it. Today, I was surprised. Let me just lay this out for you. This particular product is one in which the court said the VA is wrong, and the VA needs to pay these co-pays and deductibles in those facilities that are outside of a VA facility, and that was the direction from Congress. Now, that's 2 court cases right in a row. My understanding is that you have had a chance to take a look at this. And the reason why it came to my attention is we had 2 different times in which there were requests to hotline bills in this Senate suggesting unanimous consent items that would have reversed that law. and would have taken the VA out of paying literally billions of dollars, and it would have dumped it on the backs of veterans after the fact. Now, we stopped both of them. What I'd like to know, sir, is your opinion on the bill and where you see us going from here with getting that resolved.
Yeah. Well, right now, my opinion doesn't matter because this is law. The judges have ruled, so you've accurately described the situation, and so I have instructed VA to start putting together, and they are doing this now, the regulations that it's going to take to be able to start paying these bills, these emergency room bills. And every day that we delay, veterans are being put in the middle, and that's really unfair to them.
Dr. Shulkin, here's the reason why people get discouraged with this. Just today, and this is exactly the conversation that you and I had, and that was my understanding. And yet today in my office, I received a letter. I was surprised to receive a letter from the VA in reply to our letter, which we had sent in asking the VA to reconsider their position. And in this current letter, it stated that the current status of the bill is still active on appeal and requires an opening brief to be submitted on February 6th
Yes.
of 2017, indicating they continue to do battle on this in the courts.
So let me clarify our position.
Okay.
I've already said your facts are correct. This is law, and we are moving forward to start paying these bills. However, VA does not believe that the court interpreted the statute correctly. And so the Department of Justice, and this is since you and I had a chance to meet, has just decided to accept the appeal. So the Department of Justice will appeal this, and we will see what happens. But in the meantime, I am not going to allow veterans to be put in the middle like we've been continuing to. We are going to move forward, and we will do it with speed to make sure that we start paying these bills as soon as we possibly can. But there will be, the Department of Justice has decided to take up this case.
And just for the record, I understand, and I know that I'm going over my time, Mr. Chairman, but this is in the terms of more than $3 billion, and in some cases estimated at more than $10 billion of debt which veterans will have if the VA doesn't pay it. You don't have the money in your budget. Are you prepared to ask this Congress for the appropriate funds to get the bill paid if
I'll try to be brief as well. The concern that VA has, having said we are moving in the direction that I think that you are comfortable with, the concern is this is a new interpretation of a benefit for veterans who have other health insurance and who are not service-connected. If we do not get additional funds authorized, that money will come from the services that we provide today to veterans, and they will have less health care available. So yes, we will come to you and ask you to help support with additional funding this new benefit if it is not overturned in an appeal by the Department of Justice.
But make note that it was a benefit that was directed by Congress in
Yes.
2009 and signed into law in 2010.
You're correct, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Senator